farmers near Castlemaine when COVID came and shut our whole town down. And as the kids and I hid at home, my husband risked it all by working to keep our little farm alive, whilst I did everything that the government told me to. And I made sure that my kids followed suit. I'd always thought that the end of it all would be another war, and not me and my grown kids sitting here and watching the TV, and not me and my kids watching TV. And outside the windows, the wheat continued to grow as the barley rolled and danced with the wind. As the barley rolls and dances with the wind. But then the vaccines arrived to save us all, so we lined up and rolled up our sleeves. We lined up and rolled up our sleeves, gratefully, 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 gratefully. On a Monday night, my daughter suddenly died when a blood clot burst inside her lungs. Then a few weeks later, my husband found my son on our kitchen floor. We found our son dead on our kitchen floor. We buried our beautiful kids with all of their unrealized dreams. And outside the windows, the wheat continued to grow as the barley rolled and danced with the wind. And outside the windows, the wheat continued to grow as the barley rolled and danced with the wind. As the barley rolls and dances with the wind. And everyone knew what had happened, but no one would say. Together they were all as silent as the moon. And then COVID moved on, just like the flu. The only difference is that I was now alone. For my husband is gone now too. Our doctor told me that his heart that was so strong, it had seen him build this farm, had just suddenly given way. Had just suddenly given way. And outside the windows, the wheat continued to grow as the barley rolled and danced with the wind. And outside the windows, the wheat continued to grow as the barley rolled and danced with the wind. As the barley rolls and dances with the wind. So now I'm selling the farm, I mean, what else can I do? The fences need repairing and the harvest is long overdue. Plus I know the bank will come knocking soon. I know the with the wind.
Tonight I have a special guest on. It's a friend of mine called Kofmansky. He's incredibly brave man, very outspoken, and yeah. So I'm just going to bring him on now. Hopefully he's got his makeup on. He's looking good. Here he is. How you doing?
G'day, Michael. I don't feel like a guest on your show. It's been a while, but I feel like I've come home.
Yeah, that's right. Your microphone is bigger than you.
Exactly. I feel like I'm part of the furniture along with the microphone.
You are part of the furniture, brother. It's just haven't seen you for a while and coming through. And thanks for coming on. And Before we go, let's have some people who don't know you. You actually ran for politics in what was the party called?
2022 for the United Australia Party with Clive Palmer.
Yeah, that's right. You're
So
also the one that got your name in the paper. I think you got your name in the paper for giving a shellacking to Dan
we're
Andrews.
crashing Dan's little party. He's, he's
Give
having a little ceremony.
tell people what happened at that party.
Well, it was on a Friday, so it was on the Friday evening, close to Friday night, sundown, and that's when the Jewish Sabbath starts. So it was within like an hour, and I heard about it the last minute, and people were encouraging me to go because they knew that I would crash it, basically. So I decided to go. They didn't actually announce that it was him. There were just rumors going around. The official line was that it was some official from the Victorian government, some minister for health, or I can't remember, the treasurer. They didn't advertise that it was him. But the rumor was there, and they said, oh, you should go check it out and see it was him. And when I walked into the building, walked up the stairs into this tiny room, it was relatively small. There were only like 20 people in there. Sure enough, I come face to face with him. I look him in the eye. He looks at me. And he's giving a speech in front of 20 people. Actually, the room's not small. It felt small. It could fit 150 people, but it just felt small because there was like 20 people there max.
Yeah.
And so I was just walking around in the background. The organizer's wife recognized me, and she gave me this strange look. She knew that there was trouble. So she just there was just this awkward feeling in the air, like, oh, you shouldn't really be here. And he was giving this speech, and he was, giving all this flattery because it was during an election campaign. He was trying to get re-elected, and they were flattering him. And then he starts saying that he's going to be allocating X amount to this organization, X amount to this. It was like a whole list, smorgasbord. He was like throwing gifts at everyone, Pied Piper. So then I just screamed out. I said, hey, Danny boy, it's not your money. It's taxpayers' money. It's not your money to give around and throw around. And he was shocked. He looked at me.
Yeah.
He was in complete shock, horror. And then he said, sir, excuse me. I can't remember exactly what he said, but I remember he called me sir. And he looked very awkward. And then he just said, basically someone came, one of the security guards, they manhandled me and they threw me out of the place. And he, ironically, as I was being manhandled, Dan Andrews was talking about how important it is to have free speech. He said, I respect your right to free speech, as I was getting pushed out of this venue.
I don't know why we're laughing, because it's actually tragic, but for some reason it's just the insanity of it. You just laugh
The
at
whole
it.
situation. Yeah.
So you ran for politics. Your community from Balaclava, your community was unusually compliant. I personally thought there would be a lot of kickback because of the Nuremberg trials and everything that happened, but unfortunately, they didn't see it that way.
There was actually a lot of pushback as well. If you can remember, Daniel Andrews targeted our community for defying his lockdowns, especially during the Jewish holidays.
Oh, there was the wedding. There was the big wedding thing scandal that went down. I remember that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then there was
And
the
he
Jewish holidays.
He
closed the
synagogues,
synagogues, and they sent the police on horseback to patrol the Jewish areas to harass the Jews that were there, and they were stopping anyone that looked Jewish. People easily forget that.
Yeah,
So
well, let's remember because there's other stuff I want to talk about, but let's remember because they want to forget it. I do remember Avi down there when they're closing the synagogues. I think there was people on the roof or something trying to
That's
get through.
right. They were escaping on the roof. There were ultra-Orthodox Jews that were trying to celebrate Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year. And I was actually supposed to be there. They were under siege for 24 hours. The police barricaded them. They couldn't get out. I mean, if they got out, they would get arrested on the spot. So they barricaded themselves inside the synagogue. And then eventually some of them escaped through the roof. And so there were like 9 news cameras. Channel 9 actually sent this crime reporter to report this. Jews wanting to pray on New Year's Eve, on their New Year's Eve, on their special holiday. Apparently, that amounted to a crime.
You know, I do remember those times now. You're coming back. The wedding was a big one. I remember the wedding, and yeah, I think that wasn't that like the first time the synagogues had been closed since the war. I mean, it was really that rare an occasion or something. You know?
That's right. Yeah, they
Yeah.
completely shut down. They came down hard on the Jewish community. They also targeted the Jewish community in Brooklyn, in New York. The mayor, who was at the time, his name was Del Blasio. Ironically, he was of German origin. He part German, part Italian, but he threatened to come down and arrest the Jew. The Jews were commemorating. There was an ultra-Orthodox sect that lost their chief rabbi, and they wanted to have a funeral. And he said, if they're going to have a funeral for him, I'm going to personally come down and arrest them.
Wow. Wow. Yeah.
And a lot of Jewish
Yeah.
people were disproportionately dying. That's how Dr. Zelenko came up with his protocols, because Jewish people, his patients were dying all around him. So I think in hindsight, when I look back at that, I believe that they were targeting the Jewish, especially the Orthodox community, with biological weapons. That's how they were dying in large numbers.
So you think they gave bad batches to them in a way?
That was before the vaccine came out. That was in early 2020 in March, when the whole COVID thing happened. So a lot of Jewish people, especially in New York and London, were dying in disproportionate numbers.
Oh, really?
So
What of COVID itself?
Of COVID, but I believe they were being targeted. So with biological weapons. The official line was it was COVID. So
Yeah.
otherwise, Dr. Zelenko would never have come up with this protocol.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And he died too, the poor guy.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes. He
Yeah,
had a
and I think
severe
he
form of
kept
cancer.
talking right up. He kept talking right up into his deathbed, really.
That's right. Exactly. He died in, I believe it was in the middle of 2022.
Yeah, yeah. And then, and this will get me in a lot of trouble. And then not only are you dying disproportionately and having your synagogues closed, but then the world goes, it's the Jews that are doing it all. So you get the blame for it as well. So, and a lot of people got to be screaming at their screen now, but I don't care. They did. You know, I don't know who's behind it. I don't believe it's one community. There's but now, Leon, this is 6 years on now. And the thing I wanted to bring you on now was the hate speech. But let's first look at Bondi. Now, what's his name? I think the police commissioner of New South Wales and others have come out and said this was not a religious attack. This was not a fundamentalist Islamic attack on the Jewish population. What do you think yourself?
You know, I'm just at a loss for words, Michael. They're just trying to make it out to be something completely different. They think that we're all fools. There's just nothing to see here. Oh, it's right-wing extremism.
Yeah.
Then they start talking about, and I don't like, the NSN. That's no secret. It's quite obvious for obvious reasons. I don't like people
Well, I'm
like
not that fond of you either. So it's
Joel
feeling
Davis.
mutual.
It's a mutual feeling. Joel Davis and whoever that other guy is, a few of the characters there. I don't like them. But the fact is, Joel Davis and this other character, I forget his name escapes me, Thomas Sewell, they didn't pull the trigger that day. It was fanatical Islamists backed up by Marxist communists. Even though the Marxists and the communists weren't there pulling the trigger, the ideology that led to that inspired that, came from the political left, which has overtaken our academia. The ABC, which is one of the most influential media arms, it's a government-run organization funded by us, the taxpayers, and the Fairfax Media and the Green Left Weekly, all these crikey, they've created this environment that is hostile to Jews, along with the Islamists and all this, all this ideology that they brought with them from the third world that they've imported into Australia that's completely foreign to Australia. And the government is gaslighting us. They're gaslighting the public by saying, well, it's guns are the problem. And if it's not guns, then it's right-wing extremists, or it's ordinary Australians posting, their opinion about immigration. Something completely irrelevant, just a complete diversion and a deflection.
It's I mean, the thing was horrific to see. I mean, it was just a nightmare to watch. But let's be honest. I mean, the shooter was waving away people while he focused on the Jewish community. The couple that I really feel for, I know there's other stories, was the first couple that tackled them when they first got out of the car.
Yes,
You know,
Boris
you got
and his
two
wife.
guys. Yeah, you know their names?
The gentleman's name was Boris. I forget his wife's name. Boris Gorman, I believe.
Yeah.
So they were both
But they're
gunned down.
there. Two guys get out of the car, heavily armed, and he tackles them unarmed. You know what I mean? I know he dies, but he actually got one down on the floor for a while and was fighting with him.
He
You
was
know, and then
fighting with the father.
Yeah, and the car's full of
Ammunition and weapons.
Yeah. So, you know, this happened. It happened, but the aftermath of that is they've rushed through these hate speech laws, and they claim, like we're watching from our side, they claim it's to protect groups and persecute other groups. And one of the groups it's have to protect is you. But I remember I think it happened on a Sunday. On the Monday, I didn't do a show because I thought it's just going to be a maelstrom of hate. But I actually sat in the bus and was watching on my different feeds, and all I saw was Muslims and Jews and Australians coming out going, "We don't want this here. We don't want this hate." You know what I mean? Take it back to the old country. That was my personal experience. I didn't see people jumping onto the hate bandwagon. Instead, they were going the opposite way. I saw the Jewish community reach out to the Muslim guy or whatever. I think it was a Muslim guy who tackled the gun out of the other guy, tackled the gun out of the father. And I saw the community coming together to heal this wound immediately from all sides. And I was quite, I thought there was great hope there. But then the government comes out and races through hate speech laws. But before we get to the hate speech laws, what was your experience after the shooting? Was a lot of hate aimed at you guys or support? What was from a Jewish perspective in Balaclava? What was how did you see the world as Australia responding after the incident?
From ordinary Aussies, I've had complete strangers come up to me and express their sympathy right after the Bondi shooting. So, which I was very touched, but I wasn't surprised because I know that's just par for the course when it comes to ordinary Australians because they're good, decent people.
Yeah.
So, but in the aftermath with the government passing hate laws, I mean, what could be worse if you had? I'll give you an analogy. A person that's a drunk driver, a serial drunk driver. Would you allow that person to get behind the wheel again, and this time behind a more powerful car, like a sports car? Prior to that, he had like a regular, some junky car. Now you put him in, you give him a Ferrari, or a race car.
Yeah,
that's the government. The government is drunk on power. You're going to give him even more power. That's counterintuitive.
Yeah.
All the laws that the government had up until prior to the hate speech laws, they already had systems in place and laws in place and regulations in place to prevent this sort of thing from happening. Yet they not only do they refuse to address the root cause of the problem, which is, unfortunately, I'm not going to sound very politically correct, is coming from the Muslim community. And it's coming from the Marxists and the leftists who control our academia and the media. they basically refuse to address that, and they try to deflect and pivot away from that and say the problem's something else, and we need more hate laws. We need to give ourselves more power in order to address this so-called issue, which isn't the issue. It's a complete diversion.
Yeah.
And we know that the government has systems in place to stop people when they want to. We saw that in COVID. To get people arrested, to detain them, they have more than enough power. Why would we give them even more power? On the contrary, we should wind back whatever power they have. We should curb the government's power. It should actually be the opposite, especially with the current Labor government. Liberals aren't much better. With the current socialist government, we should wind back whatever powers they've got, including police powers on the state level.
It's interesting, someone was saying they're trying to crush hate, but hate exists. But there's different levels of hate. There's old countries where the hate is so deep, it's probably incurable, to be honest. It's not just Arabic countries, there's countries in Europe, in, the Serbs and the Croats and all this other stuff and other things going through. Some countries just have these old hatreds, probably like Rwanda with the Hutsis and the Tutsis. I doubt they're ever going to sit down and go, wasn't that fun? There's, and so we've grown up with hate, but apart from these few little incidents, Australia sort of hasn't gone down that route of constant terror attacks on community. But that's from my perspective. But is that what you were seeing before COVID, or do you have a different perspective for that, being a Jew yourself?
In terms of terror attacks?
Yeah, on the Jewish community in Australia before this. Was it a regular occurrence or?
It wasn't a regular occurrence. It became more of a regular occurrence after October 7th. That's where things started. And then it snowballed. So we had, attacks on synagogues, institutions. Then it turned into fire bombings of institutions and synagogues. And now, of course, it culminated in this tragedy with the Bondi massacre.
Yeah. Yeah. And you and I don't think anyone knows this, but you and I questioned even the initial October 7 attack with that security guard, and there were questions there. And that was incredibly brave on you to do because, as a Jewish guy yourself, but the security guard, I don't know if you're still in contact with him.
He's a former IDF soldier.
Yeah, and he literally told us there's no way they could have gone across the border and been there for 6 hours. It's just not possible. So we live in a world now where we can't trust anything anymore.
Exactly. Well, the thing is, Michael, the government of Israel is no different to the government of Australia. They're both, and like all Western governments, they're controlled by the globalists.
Yeah.
So when they got a stand-down order, which it sounds like there was a stand-down order. I mean, why else would it take 8 hours for the IDF to respond? It came from a higher place. The politicians there, the military, are just puppets. They're controlled, just like in Australia. They're puppets and they're controlled, and they're working against their own populations.
And so we're seeing this the same all over Europe. We're seeing it in England. We're seeing it in Ireland. There's riots in Ireland at the moment that they're not covering, where the original locals are fighting the new migrants, which are all fighting age young men, basically. It's like they're trying, and this is one reason of having you on, is they're trying to divide us. They're trying to get us to hate each other. And so when you look at incidents like the Bondi thing, do you think this was just two guys, and it's only after your opinion, to a father and a son who decided, hey, what the hell, instead of going to the cricket, let's go shoot up a Jewish festival and get killed doing it? Or do you think there was something behind it?
Well, my take on this, and, I'm not saying that it's correct, but just based on my observation and study and research, that they were legitimately indoctrinated into Islamist extremism. The globalists use Islamist extremism as a lever. So, when the October 7th happened, just because the Israeli government gave a stand-down order on behalf of the Council of Foreign Relations or the World Economic Forum, wherever globalist body they're getting their orders from, it doesn't absolve Hamas or the Arabs that went in there to massacre and slaughter the people there. They don't get a get out of jail free card. They're very much guilty. And the father and son, I believe that they were acting as a result of radicalization that's occurring in the Muslim community in places like Lakemba and other parts of Australia and in London and across all of Europe. They're being radicalized, and that's a really big problem. And I think the globalists are encouraging that.
This is another question. We have to ask it. What are your views of Israel and Palestine conflict that's been going on? Some people call it genocide, others call it, there's all different sort of things. What is your view of it?
Well, to put things into perspective, Israel is smaller than Victoria. It's smaller than Tasmania. It's 5 times smaller than Victoria. We're talking about a tiny silver of land surrounded by Arab countries, large Arab countries that, Arab armies conquered, North Africa, the Levant. The Arabs aren't even indigenous to that area. And, the Arabs and are also in conflict with other people there, not just the Jews. So they're in conflict with the Copts, the Assyrians, the Maronites, all around that region, with the different indigenous people that they've tried to conquer and subjugate. It's a long, complex history. The violence didn't start with the creation of Israel. The violence was there for many centuries, the bloodshed. But there's a myth that's been created, that's been pushed by the left, by various communist groups and Islamist groups, saying that it all started with the creation of Israel, which isn't true, which is a misconception.
Why do you think? Because Jerusalem is kind of at the heart of this, which is a holy place for the 3 religions, for the Jews, the Muslims, and Christians. Why do you think there is so much bloodshed over the years for these rocks? And as Yuval Harari says, it's just rocks. The things that makes it important is the stories people have built on the rocks. What is so important that it's worth all this blood over all these years for? And we're talking back even to the Crusades.
The Crusades came in response to the Islamic invasion of that region. It was, started by jihad, but essentially it comes down to the Muslim world not wanting a Jewish state there, no matter how small it is. Like I said, it's 5 times smaller than Victoria, but they can't tolerate that. The Israelis, the Jews that were living there, offered them peace on many occasions, including from the inception. In 1948, they accepted the plan. The Arabs rejected it, and they started a war, and then they lost. And then there were many wars that followed after that. And they're also at war with Christians, and they're also at war with each other. You've got Muslim on Muslim violence.
Do you think this hatred that is so old is actually curable by anything, or it's just this is how it is?
I think it's curable, but it comes down to an ideology.
How would you cure it, though? And I'm only asking not so much for yourself, because I know you don't live in Israel, but I look at the land. There's been fighting there since I was born. It's always fighting, and you get to a point when you think, how many children have to be killed by all sides? They have to be lost, and how many graves do we have to fill before the communities on all sides go, is there simply another way we could do this? because I don't believe, one thing I don't believe is I don't believe any God that you follow, any God wants you to kill his other creations.
Yeah, that's
I
absolutely
just
true.
I just do not believe
The
a
first
God that would
commandment,
create life would want, "I want you to kill this." I don't buy it,
one of the 10
you know?
commandments is you should not kill.
That's right.
That's true. But at the same time, if someone's trying to kill you, you actually have an obligation to save yourself. But you're right,
Yeah.
cold-blooded murder is a prohibition. It's one of the 10 commandments. You should not kill. So that refers to, cold-blooded murder. How do you address the problem? Well, let's go back to Australia. Let's go back to the hate speech laws. The hate speech laws that Albanese passed isn't addressing the problem. It's blaming it. It's deflecting. It's saying that it's the guns. It's right-wing extremists. It's ordinary Aussies. But it's not actually addressing Islamic extremists. They're not sending the police into Lakemba, into the mosques and into the Islamic bookstores.
Why do you think that
To
is? Is it
because
just votes? They just want the Muslim votes?
they want the votes. The Labor government is very dependent on their votes, and they're a protected species along with the leftists. So you could apply this.
Do the Jewish, as a rule, do the Jewish community vote Labor as well, or are they more liberal voters?
Traditionally more liberal. So in the United States, most Jews are secular. In the United States, they traditionally vote Democrat. In Australia, it's liberal up until recently. Now the vast majority are for Pauline Hanson. They felt that both major parties have abandoned them. Pauline Hanson, she visited Bondi and she got like a standing ovation from the people there. If you go back and watch the clip of her and Barnaby Joyce coming to Bondi a few days after the massacre, she got the warmest welcome out of all the politicians. Susan Ley, people barely noticed her. Albanese, everyone booed him.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. Yeah, I saw that. That was incredible. That was the country speaking. That was the country speaking, you know. Yeah, F off. Yeah. There's now I interviewed a few weeks ago. I interviewed a guy called Casper, who is a quite high-ranking Muslim, and as far as I remember, he didn't want the hate speech laws either. Now he's he sees Palestine from a different way. And at one point, I said, look, I've got a Jewish friend. Would you be interested in coming on and having a debate? You remember Australians where we could have a debate? So I was going to ask you, but you don't have to answer now. Just have a think about it. Maybe I'll send you the interview so you can see. But it was just the drive is not to actually get clickbait or people watching this. Because it's more to see, is there another way to go other than just digging hate deep into this culture here, which in our time growing up here doesn't have that intense hatred that other older countries have, or at least from my perspective, it doesn't. So I don't want to answer now. I want you to have a think about it. It's not fair to put you on the spot. But the other thing with it too is, one, we don't have debates in this country anymore. It is just basically your way or this way. And I know there's a lot of Palestine, free Palestine protests everywhere. And this is also going to get me in a lot of trouble. But a young woman said to me once, and she's not Jewish, she's not any religion. She was just an observer. And she said she was watching. She said this to me, and the conflict with Palestine had been going on for a while. And she said, Israel has the most advanced army in the world. They all got all these advanced weapons. And they say that the genocide has been going on now for, like, say, 18 months. Why aren't the Palestinians all dead?
The population has grown.
Yeah. So, and then when I was watching the hostages being released, there were all the Palestinians around them getting released.
They're having festivities.
All with their mobile phones.
Expensive mobile phones.
you'd think after 18 months of starvation, they would look like, well, Holocaust survivors,
Skeletons. Yeah.
but they didn't. They were
No,
so. To
it's a
me, I don't.
psyop.
Yeah, I don't trust anything anymore. So it's not
It's a
that I'm saying it's
psyop.
not true. It is true.
Yeah,
But what is true is virtue signaling is basically it's you can support Palestine in this conflict because it's safe, because the majority will be on your side. Where in actual fact, if you look at it from thing, it doesn't make sense. The
exactly.
initial crossing of the border, which we covered, with the
Mm,
security guard said it couldn't have happened the way it happened. But people did get killed, and there was all sorts of things. So I don't know. I'm not there. I wasn't there. I couldn't see it for myself. And now we're seeing other things that don't make sense. And this is the world we live in now, Leon. It's a world that just is full of nonsense. And the
exactly.
only guide is like a voice inside of you, which is this common sense sort of thread. Is that how you still see it now, or is
Absolutely.
it
I'm willing to look, I know I see it on the ground. The Israeli government is not there to support or uphold the Jewish people. They're working against the Jewish people. A lot of Jews have been hoodwinked. But I also see on the flip side that a lot of the Palestinian stuff is just garbage. It's propaganda. It's all based on lies. That there's a genocide. The globalists are playing both sides, and they're trying to whip up hatred. And ironically, a lot of people in the freedom movement who questioned all of the crisis movies that were coming out during COVID and the crisis actors, and they saw what it was, are taking all the propaganda that's coming out of Gaza at face value. And a lot of it's AI generated, a lot of it's staged. There's a lot of imagery and footage they claim come from Gaza that's actually from Syria. It's well documented, as well as natural disasters like the earthquake in Turkey. So, but yet they're falling for it, hook, line, and sinker.
so we actually have a secondary war front now, which is social media. What side in a conflict better sells the victim side of the conflict to the world, you know? And now with
Exactly.
tools like AI, I mean, we're only seeing AI now. Literally, you can't tell what's real or what's not anymore.
That's right.
You sit there looking at
Exactly.
something, is it real? Could it be this? You're looking for any signs it's not real. But basically, reality now online is gone. It's a guess. Yeah.
Exactly. The
I'm
lines are
actually
blurred.
AI. Actually, I actually think the
The
fact
AI
that
generated.
AI would do a much better job because I'd look a lot prettier and less scars with AI. But but yeah, they're actually uh, to show you how good it is. I uploaded one of my plays, Marooned, to Grok, and said, "Can you do a review?" Because Rahana's trying to make it into film, and it offered me oh no, I think it was a Google one of them. It offered me if I wanted to have a half an hour podcast that talks about the play, and it was a man and woman talking, and they sounded real. They sounded
Wow.
like they'd seen the play. And it took minutes. It read the play in minutes, and then these two voices, they're joking, going on, getting serious. And I was thinking,
Holy moly. Wow.
yeah, yeah. And it was a good review, so I kept it. But but it's
You should play it.
still,
You should play it.
yeah, I'm not going to play it tonight, but I don't know if I downloaded it. I think I sent it to Rahan to say, listen to this. But there's something strange going on that way, with this, because you realize AI now through social media has the ability to manipulate all our realities by constantly hitting us with things. And so we're all victims of it in a way, even if you don't think so, because it's 24/7 nonstop smashing you. This is what you're seeing.
It's pure manipulation. It's not just AI, it's the algorithms as well.
Yeah.
They manipulate people. And it's done on a subconscious level. People don't even realize it consciously. They're being manipulated. They think that the thoughts that they're getting are their own thoughts and the feelings, but it's all coming through this algorithm that's manipulating them.
Why did you decide to be so outspoken? Because I know you've copped flack for it from your community and outside. What is it about you that's decided, no, I'm going to speak out? Because I mean, you have no idea how many people I had contact me going, why have you got that Leon on your platform? Why have you got that thing? And I'm like, fuck you. It's my platform. I'll have on whoever I want. And to me, it's about free speech. You know, if a Muslim guy approached me, he wanted to have a platform, wanted to do his thing, and he wasn't spreading pure hate, or asking for violence, no problem, be on. But why did you decide to be who you are, Leon? Why didn't you just stay
Very,
silent and
very simple, because I've stayed silent in the past and I regretted it. There were
can you talk?
times in the past where I didn't speak out, and I regretted it. And I realized that the fears that I had in not speaking out were misplaced, and that I really had nothing to lose. It was just an illusion, like, whether to keep my job or not to upset someone that's of a higher authority. There were situations where something wasn't right. A good example was, and I regret this, was someone that was getting bullied at my workplace by the manager. It was at a bank. She was an Indian lady. He was Malaysian, and he felt that he could bully her, and he drove her to tears. I gave her comfort, but I never confronted him about it, and I never reported it, because I was like a third party, and I didn't want to rock the boat. And to this day, when I look back at it, I regret it, and I'm very ashamed that I never confronted him about it. I never went to his superiors. That's one example. I've got many examples, but that's just motivating me to be more outspoken, because I realize that if I don't speak out, I'm going to regret it later, and I'm going to have to live with that for the rest of my life.
Well, what is the price you've paid for speaking out? Apart from the fact you're still to buy me a beer. It's a private joke between us. There's but what's the price you have been paid? You've paid for speaking out, especially in this COVID era, which was like, there's a lot of podcasters out now, and I applaud them all. But for this period when you were speaking out, there was very few voices.
Look, sometimes I'm conscious of the fact, when you apply for a job, or, there's some kind of business in the world of business, some opportunity, first thing people do is they look you up. And, my search results, that Dan Andrews incident, all these other things would come up, Clive Palmer, UAP. A lot of people in the, wider population are not going to look at that favorably. So I realize it's going to cost me jobs, business opportunities. It could lead to ostracism, but I don't care, because the silver lining with COVID, where they stripped us of our rights, and you couldn't even go to do a simple thing like going to a cafe to buy a coffee without a vaccine passport. It gave me the silver lining in that it gave me some sort of invisibility. Like, I've got nothing to lose. Who cares? I might as well just speak out, stand up and speak out. They've stripped me of all my rights.
Have you Googled your name? I Googled your name.
I'm too afraid. I'm too afraid to Google my name.
The picture you sent me is the picture I got off the internet. So I got off the internet and looked, you sent me the same picture, good picture, but it's on the Rumble. But it came up with it's actually not too bad, but it came up, and I thought, wow, he's got his own, like, kabang. And it didn't go to anyone else, and complete to you. And for a while I thought, oh, come on, there must be lots of Leon Kofmanskys in the world. There's 8 billion people. You're telling me you automatically got the right one? But yeah, it's there, man. You should Google it. Other people can Google it too. But I thought, wow, this is interesting, And it talked about your time in the party and what you do for a living, and it didn't have your address or anything. But it wasn't too bad. But and there was a bottom bit, a third chapter, because there's 3 chapters or 3 paragraphs. I think the third paragraph probably went to conspiracy theories, which unfortunately have all become true. So I don't know how many conspiracy theories you've got left in your Have you got any conspiracies left that haven't come true?
I think they've all come true. I mean, I've also been I don't know if ostracized is the right word, because I never really well, essentially, like, a lot of people in the community don't like me, to put it bluntly, because of what
Yeah.
I said or did, and I disrespected people that were in authority. So I attracted the ire of a lot of people. So, when I'd go to events in the community, and it's usually situations where they're kids' events and my children, and I want to spend time with my children really want to go to these events. That's where I attract. They don't, it's just ostracism. They give you these death stares, and
Really? They haven't
you
become you
can,
haven't become cool yet? I thought maybe initially, yeah, but I thought they'd been going, he's pretty cool. He's pretty tough, you know? He's like
there's a
the
lot of
Marlon
people
Brand
there
he's
that
like the
have
Marlon Brando wild one of the Balaclava Jewish community, you know what I mean? Leon's here. What's he gonna say? You know? Look, I cop the same stuff, man. We live on the road. When we meet our people, we get on very well. But the wider community, I mean, the bus looks like a flotilla in a sovereign citizen parade. So, I know
wow.
what it's like to be ostracized. But do you think, in a way, that the only way to be free now, to really be free, where you can speak your mind, have your own thoughts, is to have the courage to suffer being ostracized, because
Absolutely.
you are going across
Yeah,
the herd. So that's the price you pay.
exactly. I mean, and you're not influenced by other people, by peer group pressure, so that strengthens your character
Yeah.
even more
So
so.
that's
It
what I was
makes you
going to ask.
stronger.
How have you benefited? What are the things you've learned that, say, you'd pass down your son? This is the lessons I learned from being a standing man in a community not just a community, a whole state that bent over.
Look, I'm very. I mean, in hindsight, we saw what happened with the vaccines and the vaccine injuries. I don't think I've ever met anyone that's regretted not taking it. So even looking at hindsight, not going along, not caving into the peer pressure, there's absolutely no regrets on my part, and I'm sure you're in the same boat. You'd be pretty crazy to say I regretted not caving into peer pressure.
Yeah, right.
There's a good chance that you'd be buried either 6 feet under, or you would be in a wheelchair, disabled with
Yeah.
tremors.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, even today, like we had a lot of books to send off today, so everybody's waiting on a book. They're probably on their way, and because we were there, it took an hour and a half for the woman to process, almost 2 hours for them to process all the books. And so she finally got to talking to us, like she's going, "What is this? Why are you sending off? What is it?" And I said, "Oh, it's a book." And then we got talking about what it's about, just lightly. And I said, I do interviews about state of Australia, vaccine injuries and stuff. And then she suddenly goes, one of her son's friends, 24, died of the vaccine, just dropped dead, a heart attack. Her brother got turbo cancer. She never heard of turbo cancer. We brought it up dead. And we see this all the time. And she's lost her house, even though she took it and she didn't want to take it. She's lost her house. Now she's living with a son, and she's probably in her 60s. So the house was
Wow.
literally her retirement. So her world has been devastated. And but she goes, but something's doing it. It's not wrong. All these people are dying. All these people are sick. But she didn't mention the vaccine once. And I was thinking, I wonder if this is because all she watches is TV, which never mentions it, or the algorithms that send her stuff to watch on social media just don't send her anything like that. They send it to us, but
That's
they don't send it to her, you know?
all of
But
the
it's
above.
tragic. Yeah, but it's
Mm,
tragic, man. You're sitting there, you don't want to say anything, but you're just watching this woman like something's wrong, but she can't put a finger on it. You know what I
mm.
mean? All she
I
knows
meet
is,
people. I've met quite a few people like that, even young people in 38, 39. I've met a very successful individual who's, started a number of startups, an entrepreneur, and he was severely disabled. He can't do anything, and he can't pinpoint what it is. And he's a very smart guy.
Yeah.
But he did mention, as a by the way, I mean, he was like, he had like a whole shopping list of what it might be, but then he mentioned, as a by the way, well, maybe it might be the vaccine, but then he went out to other topics and just moved on.
Yeah. Do you think it's not that it could be the vaccine, but the real truth that they have to swallow if they admit that it's the vaccine is that the government lied, and the government did not have their best interest at heart. So everything the government said and Big Pharma said and all this was a lie, and they have to process that. I mean, basically everyone was lying, and that's what's preventing them from finally accepting what to us is self-evident.
That's a big pill to swallow, because it's not just because if you accept that the government lied, then the next step is, why did they lie? And we all know the reason. Depopulation.
Yeah.
That's a big pill to swallow for a lot of
But it's-
people, even for us. Your own
But it's
government wants to kill you.
But it's happening. We were in the other day. I was in a car with a guy, and it sounds like a grinder date, doesn't it? But it wasn't. I was in a car with a guy, and he finally asked. He didn't know who I was, and we had another guy in the back, and he said, "So did you take it?" And I said, "No." And then he opened up and talked, and he's a very successful businessman. He didn't get his staff to take it, so half took it, half didn't. And one of them said, he had one guy who's worked with him for years. His mum died, and then his wife died a few weeks later, and then 6 months after losing both of them, he got turbo cancer and was gone in a couple of weeks.
Wow.
Just gone. And so that family, the mother, the two parents, gone. So there might be kids left, but so we're seeing the evidence of democide out there. We're seeing the evidence of depopulation. The Japanese have come out and said they reckon 1 billion people have died of the jab at the moment.
Wow.
I don't know what they based that on, but
I'm not surprised, though.
But here's what we're seeing. And yet there's no. I saw this. I actually wanted to show you this. I thought it'd be funny. And then I want to move to this. So I saw this. Can you
Should we
read
be
it?
writing? Because it feels like we should be writing.
It sounded like a Jewish joke. Should we be writing? It feels like we should be writing. The other one I saw. This is really bad. I just bring up just to lighten the mood. I'll see if I can find it. But this gave me the giggles. Maybe it's not here. I think. Oh, hold on. I think it's. Bear with me for a sec. Let's have a laugh, and then we'll move on to heavier crap. Did I get it? Did I get it down? Did I get it? No, I mustn't go. Anyway, I think it was about Woody Allen is in the Epstein files.
What a surprise!
But the meme said,
surprise.
But he wouldn't have done anything bad there because he wouldn't have betrayed his daughter.
His underage daughter.
That's right. So, it's just. Anyway, this gets us to the Epstein files. At first, I didn't understand why they'd been released, and so I was a bit cagey. But when the more stuff is coming out now, and you get it from podcasters because there's 3 million files, what are your views? Have you been watching any of it, and what are your thoughts?
Well, I haven't actually examined the files myself. I haven't really dug in deep into it. But I saw some interesting images of Epstein and Mick Jagger and Bill Clinton eating dinner. And the people that were posting this commented on how unusually white and pinkish the meat looked. And one chef, I don't know if he's a chef. I mean, anyone could say that they're anything on social media, but he claimed to be a chef. He said he never saw anything like that. That's not how meat generally looks. So take of it what you will.
Well, the only other thing there is, like, there's a picture of Prince Andrew on top of some young woman, and she's got her face blacked out, and he's looking up at the camera and he's smiling. Now, the thing there is, say we'd all gone to Vegas And there's a law with Vegas. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, which means you don't take photos of
Mhm.
your mates doing things with other women. You just don't do
Unless it's
that
for blackmail purposes.
unless it's for blackmail. Now, so if he wasn't looking, if the picture was taken like he didn't know the camera was being taken, I'd say, oh, that was a blackmail. But he is smiling at the camera. So
Just like with
he,
Virginia Guffrey.
I didn't know who he was with. But
Oh
to
no,
me,
another photo.
okay, but to me,
The
when he's
famous
looking
photo.
up, yeah, the famous one, but there he's next to her. But this one, he's on top of this person. And this was Kelly that actually brought this up. He wouldn't let that photo go out. If I had taken it, he would have gone, hey, who's that guy? I want that photo. I want that camera
Mm,
destroyed. That would be because he knows his mum's the queen. He's not like sitting there going, oh, she'll be fine. She knows I'm a pedo. He would not. He would want it. So why is, it just was like too much. It's
mm.
like it's like having a Christmas where you wish for something and suddenly you get everything you wish for. Never happens. So I've been trying to watch it this way and sort of be sure that we're not being manipulated. But now the story's coming out of what they've done to the young people, especially the young girls. There's questions of murder. Now there's questions of them eating babies and stuff and using the adrenochrome for. It's getting to a point. Do you think some humans later to this have a trouble with this and a trouble with COVID because at our base, we are just simply not that evil. And it's kind of very difficult for us to conceive that you and I would go out for dinner and sit there and murder and eat a baby. Yeah, I just couldn't
Mm.
think of any way that I could get you to agree to a dinner party like that.
Well, you're spot
I don't
on.
know.
I mean, we usually make fun of normies, in the alternative space, and mock and deride normies. But could you really blame them for being normies? Because you have to, in order to be awake, like red pilled, and see the world for what it is, you have to accept certain truths. And this is what you alluded to. You have to accept that there's evil out there that is beyond human comprehension. It's demonic. Who most people, to tell you the truth, if they were to see that type of evil, they would lose their sanity. So
Yeah.
could you blame a normie for wanting to be, some of them, I don't know whether they're willfully ignorant, some of them probably are, but do you blame them for wanting to shut their ears and their eyes and not listen and just go along with the mainstream? Maybe deep
Yeah.
down on a subconscious level, they know the truth, but they just don't want to acknowledge it because of the
Well, they know.
enormity and the gravity of it.
Yeah. So they know there's a darkness there, an extreme darkness, but they just don't want to go there. It's just, yeah. Which makes you wonder, why do you think they've released them? Why do you think they've done that?
I think it's to
They didn't bother
distract
for
people.
ages.
I think Epstein is just the tip of the iceberg. I think there's a lot more happening in other circles, in other elite circles. We also had Jimmy Savile over a decade ago when he passed away. There was all these stories of him molesting children and having relations with dead bodies, going to morgues and doing all kinds of sick things. But even that was just the tip of the iceberg. If you look deeper, you look at all this information, you'd find that there's something much more sinister with Savile and other people. I mean, Savile was hobnobbing with he was friends with the monarchs, Prince Charles, with prime ministers, including Edward Heath, who was never married, and he had awkward relationships. Apparently, a number of boys disappeared that were brought on his yacht, never came back again, never heard from again. So there's all this stuff that's happening in these elite circles. And I think whatever information that's coming out about Epstein and even about Savile, they would allow certain truths to come out, but it's to serve a purpose. And I think that purpose is to have us even more distracted and look in a different direction.
Can you put Ben back? That last thing. Yeah, I agree with you. I just wanted to look at this thing here from Ben. I love to be a normie. Unfortunately, I was not selected for the team. It's right at the moment. You felt awake. Like I knew Epstein, I knew bad shit happened. It was clear. But now that it's actually coming out, I actually feel like you're waking up again. You're sinking down a level. You feel the darkness pulling you down. And that, like, well, let's put it this way. Have you thought from the beginning of COVID that this was a spiritual war?
I felt it, yes. When they announced first time they announced the mask mandates that we had to put on the masks, that was on a day called Tisha B'Av. Av is a month in the Jewish calendar where all these calamities befell the Jewish nation and the world. World War One broke out, and biblically, a lot of things, terrible things happened. And the ninth day specifically, the ninth day is like the worst. That's when the temple was destroyed. And on the ninth day, that's when they announced the masks. And I just knew, I felt that it was what we were up against was pure evil.
And so, in fighting that and combating that, because the whole upper echelon, or all those above us, people don't like me calling them the elites, but those above us, these very wealthy, powerful people, whoever they are, uh, if they're the enemy and if they are demonic, then what are we fighting for? Are we fighting for light? Are we fighting to bring, because we all have different gods or religions we follow. What are we actually fighting for? What is victory for us?
Well, you see, I think it's no coincidence that Australia, the life here, the socioeconomic situation really started to go downhill when the Marriage Act was passed in 2017. And less than 2 years later, we had COVID. That was a sign. You know, Australia, even though I'm not a Christian, Jews don't proselytize. I acknowledge the important role that Christianity plays. It also promotes the Ten Commandments, the idea that you should be a moral person. You should, acknowledge God, respect God, worship God, adhere to certain moral codes, have a family, not be sexually immoral. As soon as that goes out the window, that brings a lot of calamities. And we've seen that since time immemorial throughout history. Whenever a country abandons God and lets in these other foreign ideologies, foreign gods, or socialism, communism, atheism, whatever it is, hedonism, the society doesn't last. It all goes downhill. The empires fell because of that. And we're seeing that play out in Australia. So I think we need to go back to basics, back to our roots. For Christians, they need to go back to their Christian roots, start going to church, worship God, be a moral person, get married if you're not married, have children, and promote, engage in acts of goodness and kindness, that, give donations, help poor people. This is what will get our society back on track. The trajectory that we're on with this woke garbage, that's going to destroy our civilization.
Yeah. You remind me of a bearded Charlie Kirk. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I really don't. I mean, this is what he was basically selling. What were your thoughts on the Charlie Kirk shooting?
Well, Charlie Kirk's actually an inspiration of mine. A lot of people that I look up to are actually Christian. So Nick Patterson's another person.
Yeah.
So I'm very much inspired by a lot of these people. So I was genuinely shocked when I heard about Charlie Kirk's assassination, and even more so when I saw that footage, which I regretted watching.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, it's when I get inspired by someone, it's that their religion has nothing to do with it. It's the actions of the person, the courage of the person. And I've just interviewed a couple now, and he stood up against. He lost his job. They lost a lot of stuff. They were a house they were going to buy. They lost all that. And when I asked his partner what she thought of that, because she's bearing the brunt of it. She's not going to be able to do these things. Uh, she actually said she called him a hero for standing up and standing his ground. And I thought that was really beautiful because what she's saying is she values his ethics more than his commodities. You know what I mean? And I have been wondering, and it's probably not going to be a question, but please join me. Moses came down from the mountain with the commandments, right? And the people that he left behind were following false gods. And I wonder if we're in that kind of time now. Say the commandments are like a rule book for decency. Not everyone's going to follow them, but the majority follow them. You can have a civil society. And yet now people are coveting stuff. I wonder if this is the end of the age of materialism, because I mean, everything you buy is shit anyway. But I just wonder if this is, instead of the end of our culture or the end of even humanity, whether this is a critical moment in time where it doesn't matter what religion you are, what race you are, you're a human being right here, right now, and you can decide to join the side that wants to fight for humans to be uh, worthy to be here, to be a powerful human being or to be a slave. This is what I'm seeing, that everyone has the choice. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, to your first point, yes, history has a tendency to repeat itself. So people are going after false gods. But yes, you're right. This could be turned around. I mean, it's destined. We're going to go into a new era, and it's going to be a good era. But it's up to us to bring that about a lot sooner, and that's through our actions. And the worst thing we could do is just sit idly by and not be an active participant.
Yeah. It's interesting, though, how many people are doing that, though, isn't it?
Most people, they have a term for it, NPC.
Yeah, they do. They do. And why do you think that is? It's because they're, after 6 years, what is your appraisal of that? Is they just too invested in their job and their little life, or are they cowards at heart, or they just, it's just too big a thing, they just don't want to deal with it? What do you think?
Probably all of the above, or one of those, or a combination, depending on the individual. Usually it's peer group pressure, not
Yeah.
wanting to lose their social status. It comes down to social status. And then from there, career prospects, jobs, relationships, finding a partner, kids, the other parents might not want their kids to play with your kids because you did XYZ, and they're afraid of that. Their
Yeah.
reputation,
Yeah. Because
their
we are seeing,
mortgage.
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no, go on.
But we are seeing defiance, and it's in the small places. Like the mainstream media is harking on about, vaccines are at the lowest rate ever. Parents aren't vaccinating the kids, and they're saying that with deep alarm. Where I see that as something beautiful. I see that as people finally taking responsibility for their children's health, obviously researching it and really researching and deciding that they're going to trust in their natural immunity, and they do not trust the system anymore. So that is a form of revolution, you know?
Exactly. With whatever the media says that's bad, you obviously see that as a sign that it's a good thing,
Yeah,
inevitably.
that's right. That's right. Do the opposite.
Do the opposite.
There's so where do you think we're going now? What do you think's coming in the next? I know you can't decide if there's attacks or anything. We can't, but we can't predict that. But what is your feeling? Do you think the government's going to back down and we'll get back to sanity, or do you think they're going to start digging they're going to start digging themselves? The powerful are going to start digging themselves deeper in order to reach whatever agenda they're trying to achieve.
Well, one thing I can say is that the current Labor government, for sure, with great certainty, is that Australia cannot put up with this Labor government for any longer. They're an existential threat to this country. Albanese is an existential threat. And no, I'm not calling for his elimination. I'm not saying that. I'm not calling for any illegal activities. I'm just saying that he needs to step down from his job as Prime Minister. The Labor government needs to step down, but that's easier said than done. The Liberals aren't much better. They're very much a part of the problem as well. But they are, bottom line, they're an existential threat. How are we going to stop them? I mean, I don't have unfortunately, I don't have an answer to that. There are no easy answers.
I heard today that Pauline Hanson, she was adamant. She was actually straightforward. It was on a Sky News interview, and the guy interviewing was sort of like leaning like this, as if he was scared of her. Yet she was on a screen, and but he said to her, "So you are you willing to work with the Liberal Party, like a coalition with the Liberals and Nationals, to get in?" And she said, "Of course." And I really admired her for speaking the truth, because she said, we can't make government at the moment, but doing this way, they could get in. And I thought this is something about her. She's the only politician I know, apart from Trump, that answers questions directly. You ask them a direct question, she gives you a direct answer. And what's ironic is, even if she is seen as like, oh, she's peddling racism, she's peddling homophobia, she's peddling anti-Semitism, she's painting Islamophobia, she's pushing Islamophobia, and yet the majority of Muslims and majority of Jews are voting for her.
Are you sure it's the majority of Muslims?
Yeah. But we talked to the Muslims. There was an instinct to have these Muslims where this is the ones we spoke to. So I'm not saying all.
No, fair enough.
But they're finding out that there's a lot of people, a lot of migrants, a lot of people from other religions, Indians, and all the people she's supposed to attack, Asians, are actually supporting her, which means that here's a woman that's doing everything that the government says is wrong, and yet here she is growing in popularity.
You know why a lot of migrants are supporting her? It's a very simple answer. They fled their countries for a reason. They come to Australia for a better life. All of a sudden, to see Labor and even the Liberal Party turn this great country into the country they tried to escape.
Yeah. Yeah. What a comment. What a comment. And a woman who used to have a fish and chip shop is their only hope. Isn't that amazing? I have to say, I don't know if I'll vote for her or not. I've never met her or talked to her, but you have to admire her tenacity and her stubbornness and her determination, because she's still selling the same story, and you can see how she's learned. I mean, they've thrown everything at her.
That's right, including
and
jail.
all they've done is, it's like, is the word tempering, where they put the sword in the fire and they keep burning it, and all they do is make it stronger. Here she is, and the people adore her. That's, you see her when she look at you said about when she came to Bondi, they're booing at Albanese, and they're embracing Pauline.
Yeah, polar opposite. They even ignored Susan Lee when she visited. No one really paid much attention to her.
Well, why should you? I mean, she's like Labor light.
Hopefully, she'll be out soon.
Yeah. Do you think the Labor, the Liberals, the Nationals can survive?
That's a good question. I think the Liberals are now more vulnerable, that the Nationals have left the coalition as a result of the hate speech laws. It would be interesting to see. I would like to see a coalition. I don't know how realistic this is between One Nation and the Nationals. If they were to make a coalition, then she would have a good chance to be in government. But I don't know how realistic that is. Maybe that's just a fantasy.
Could Barney B. Joyce be the bridge?
Good question. He could even be the opposite because they might have some hard feelings towards him for ditching their party and going over to her. So it could go either way. He could either be the bridge or the opposite.
Well, my friend, that's everything I wanted to get off my chest with you on today. It's good to
Thank
see
you for
you.
having me on. Likewise.
Is there
Always good to be here.
anything? Well, is there anything else you'd like to say or talk about?
Just turn to God, pray, be nice to your fellow man, engage in acts of goodness and kindness. That's it. I think we need to pray. We need to pray. We need to repent. I think it's a shame that Australia has turned its back on Christianity. I'm saying this as a non-Christian, as a Jewish person. I've really seen how this country has gone down on all sides, from a socio-economic and a spiritual. It's all interlinked.
I've got a tab here. If I hit it, it's going to close this down, which is pissing me off. It's still staying here. But I want to give you some hope on that perspective. I can't talk for the Jewish community or the Muslim community, but for the Christians, everywhere I go now, I'm being invited to these new churches, usually with ministers, not priests. They're setting up in rooms at the back of town halls. I had a group of men, grandfathers, fathers, and sons, invited me to go to a gathering that was quite far away. We had to take 4-wheel drives to get there, and there was going to be fishing and surfing, and they had a barbecue and everything. But they prayed. They got down and prayed, and the young men were proudly Christian. They would come up going, "You going to church tomorrow? You want to come to our church?" I was almost tempted to go, yeah, but I had an interview. But and I'm seeing this when I was when I was covering the case of Paul and the big black truck in Canberra. It got to a point where we'd run out of ideas, and he was. It was a terrible moment. And I remember it was one of those moments where you just can't think of what to do. You've got no more ideas, no ideas for anything that can raise awareness. And I said to him, why don't we pray? And we went into the small room that they allowed the people to sit in. And suddenly these other men who had come down from all over Australia to defend Paul as witnesses, they got there on their own volition. Some drove from Brisbane, from Sydney, I think one guy drove from Mildura, and when they saw us praying, it's like you're praying, they came in and they joined us. And we got in this prayer huddle. These are things I've never done in my life, Leon, before COVID.
Wow.
And suddenly we're praying and you're feeling the power. We have Lee comes on every second Thursday.
That's right. I've seen him. He's the pharmacist, right?
Yeah. And he ends the show with these prayers. And
wow.
he just starts this free-flowing conversation with his God, or God. And so I'm seeing it everywhere, but it's not following the old religions. I see it as a rising up wherever I go. I said this the other night, so I'm sorry if people heard this before. I was taken to this tiny little town, and in this hall, in the back of this hall where these people have hired just for their church, there they are. They have really old Bibles, ancient Bibles. They're reading from really old text. So they're throwing away all the last so many hundred years of, however they've corrupted it. They're reading from old texts. And for the body of Christ, they had broken crackers. And for the blood, they had grape juice that they were going around to everyone. And they didn't even have a preacher. They were just taking times reading from the Bible. But what I thought was, and this is not just for Jesus, this is the same way you're seeing it. God doesn't have Instagram. He doesn't have Snapchat. He doesn't have Facebook. and yet we don't even get to see him personally, in person, you know what I mean? And yet, uh, he's still drawing a crowd. He's still filling these halls. You know, one of them was full of one church we got taken to was full of young tradies. It's things up their arm, young men, they're sitting there with their kids. You know what I mean? I see people gravitating back like moths lost in the dark towards a light. So that's where I'm finding hope. I think and my Irish cousin said to me, I can't do an Irish accent. I wish I could because he's got a gorgeous accent. He said, "There's no atheists in foxholes, Michael." And I wonder if that's what we're getting to. The age of
Mm.
abundance, the lucky country where we didn't need God because we had money, we had parties. Hey, it's all good here. That's ending. We're getting into harder times. And waiting for us there is God. Like, now you need me. Now I'm here. And people talk in all my interviews, even this one, this interview I've just in the couple now. Everybody talks of a connection, of a voice inside, of something. So that's what I'm seeing and finding on the road of Australia, where 10 years ago, talking openly about God, especially on a podcast,
You get
everyone
laughed
going,
at. What is
what
he
are these
on? Yeah.
guys? What are these
You-
on?
you-
You know, where now it's different.
People are
And
more
I
receptive.
myself have really learned the power of faith.
Mm.
I've learned it the hard way. The long road. I took the rubber bullet road. and but I am a believer that there is some force of great good that I believe is on our side, but I don't believe it's all written. I believe freedom, if there is a God, I believe he gives us freedom so that you come to him. You don't come to him because you obey him or you frighten him, but you go to him because you want to go to him.
That's
And
right.
you follow him because you decide, I am going to listen. I want to err towards the light. And so, yeah, anyway, now I'm just ranting, brother. Yeah. I shall let you get back to your family. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you, Michael. Always nice to be here.
Yeah.
So,
Have you got anything planned? You going away? You having any holidays? You doing anything this year just to change the subject?
I recently had a holiday, so now I'm back in
Now you're
the
back.
real world,
Ah,
like everyone
right.
else.
Except
So the
me.
summer's almost over. You're
Yeah,
lucky you get to travel around the country. I envy your lifestyle.
Well, do you know that there's actually strategy behind it because I think this country has long highways, and long highways are built for driving, and it's a great beauty. And if so many people say to me, uh, what do they say? They say we've lost our identity. Well, if you really feel Australia, you've lost the identity of Australia. Australia's lost its identity. Take a road trip. Don't fly to Bali. Take a road trip anywhere. Pick anywhere and go anywhere. The view
It's a
constantly
vast
changes.
continent, the most beautiful country in the world.
It's different from Europe. It's different from other countries. It doesn't have the Scandinavian mountains, but there is ancient beauty here.
That's
And
right.
you are just the current travelers of this very ancient land. It probably doesn't even realize we're here, but it's worth fighting for. We are privileged to live
Exactly.
in this country. So
You got
yeah,
to see the country in order to appreciate it.
yeah, 100%. And so that's what we do. So I'm trying to be a symbol of freedom. I survive out here. If you can, everyone says, "Oh, I want to do that. I want to do that." Well, do it. Do it. And so yeah. Other than that, I'm a grifter, like everybody says, and this is how I make my living. I don't know. Leon, I've much respect for you, my brother. I
Thank
really
you.
admire the fact that you came
Likewise.
on in the hard times and did the shows on here. And I love your voice. And please stay in
Always a
touch.
pleasure to be here. Absolutely.
Yeah, please be in touch. If you want to come back on, start doing podcasts again, the door is always open for you.
Thank
You
you.
know, no
Much
worries. Even if you want to
appreciated.
do a sporadic one every now and again, if you get a
Yeah,
guest,
I'd love to.
instead of doing it this, just say, "Hey, I've got a real guest. Can I book in?"
I'd
Doors
be very
open.
honored to. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. And so that's it. Now we're going out with. I'll get Kelly to click it because my screen is frozen. And this we wrote this. This is AI. We wrote this on the day of Charlie died, and it reached like 3 million people very quickly.
Wow,
It went off.
that's
But this
incredible.
is to a man called Charlie, and the reason I think it's like Steve Irwin. Sometimes you don't realize how incredible someone is until you lose them. And I
Exactly.
think for the world, Charlie was always there, but we didn't realize how
How
precious
great he
he
was.
was until they silenced him. Yeah. Good night, Leon,
Good night.
and
Thank
I
you,
shall see you
everyone.
down the road.
God bless.
Maybe one day we'll have that beer.
One day soon.
One day soon. Maybe here on the other side, somewhere.
I'll join you on the other side, in the outback, wherever you are.
Yeah, no worries. Take care.
Take
Close
care.
this up. Here we go. Good night.
It was raining last night. I could hear it dancing on the roof. I fell asleep listening to the beauty of rain. But when I woke, you were gone. Someone had used their hate to take you away. And so the rain of last night is now raining inside of me. I think the angels just might be standing up to welcome you home, as we remain here fighting in the trench that just grew colder. But despite the shot, I know you're not dead. Instead, you're leaving light could become our new dawn. I wonder if when your mother first held you, as all the love you brought was a dawn in her eyes, did if she ever sensed then that a warrior was here, with a tongue for a sword and the armor of truth? For in a darkening world that's being turned upside down, you were a single man that rose until we could see you from here. How many roads must a man walk down before we call him a man? Well, I'm on your road, to try and emulate you by constructing a sign that reads Charlie Kirk, a man passed this way. On his journey to the son who he knew, if we faithfully followed, would one day lead us home. On his journey to the son who Charlie believed, if we faithfully followed, would one day lead us all